It is now 5 o'clock on Monday, November the 21st. The BEDC Board reserves the right to convene into an executive session at any time during the meeting regarding any agenda item in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 Government Code. Do we have any public comments?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, we're actually going to skip over to number 3.3. which is going to be the presentation and possible action on a donation of funds to the BEDC from Roscoe State Bank from their merger with Cornerstone Home Lending. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I just didn't want to keep you guys too long, so I thought we'd jump ahead. So we'll wait on that one. Okay, great. All right, then we're going to go back to 3.1, the approval of the meeting minutes from the BEDC board meeting of October 17th, 2022.
Move to approve the meeting minutes.
All right.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Very good. All right, then we'll go to 3.2. Receive the financial report provided by the City of Bastrop's Chief Financial Officer for the period ending October 2022 and the Treasurer's comments.
So I've reviewed the documents submitted by Tracy, and I have no objections or any concerns with what's being shown.
On the last page of the financial report that was included in the packet, that has been updated, and you should have that updated graph in front of you. Ms. Waldron, would you like to say anything? No? Okay.
On. Community Action and Austin Community College.
There we go. Wanted to very quickly welcome some of our guests that are here this evening. We've got Monty May with Community Actions, as well as Amanda Brantley with the Bastrop ISD. Unfortunately, Austin Community College could not also attend this evening due to some personal situations. And so what we're going to do is we're really talking about our collaboration and our input and partnerships with all of our educational entities, and kind of talk a little bit about what we've accomplished this year. So we, just a little bit. So we've worked with Community Actions as well as Bastrop ISD, ACC, and of course the Art Institute of Austin. With Community Actions, I'm going to have Monty actually come up and talk a little bit, but they have accomplished their first class that was in the pyrology classroom space, of which was part of Project Gummy Bears that you all approved a couple of years ago. And so she's going to come up and talk about that class, how many graduates they had, and kind of what their game plan is moving forward with some upcoming classes. Monty?
Thank you, Jake. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I am Monty May with Community Action, and I have the pleasure of actually teaching an adult ed portion of our training, and it is more things like budgeting, soft skills, stress management, credit reporting, those type of things in order to help an individual gain employment. That's what we're all about. We had a wonderful opportunity that Jean was a big factor in working with Pyrology. Pyrology donated the building and let us use it in the evenings for our Pyrology class. We had 13 that started and 12 graduates. So in a very short period of time, we have 12 new certified phlebotomy techs in our community. This was the tuition is furnished by Community Action. And let me talk a little bit about Community Action. It's an adult ed program that the funding comes from the Texas Workforce Commission through adult ed. We concentrate a lot on English as second language, high school equivalency, civics is a majority of our classes. But we also have a subset with an amount of funding that we can actually pay tuition for vocational training. It's a great opportunity for individuals to have their training paid for. The eligibility for the program is you cannot have a bachelor's degree. You have to be 18 or above, past compensatory school age, and you have to agree to take an academic assessment. That's all the eligibility that's required. This last year, if you don't mind, I would like to kind of hand out some accomplishments. These are some of the things that, for the last year, we've been able to work through. And so if you're looking at the very first page, these are the classes that are mainly our adult ed. You can see where the location is. A lot of these are basic academic, high school equivalency, ESL, and the different locations throughout our city, both Smithville, LaGrange, and Bastrop, where we conduct these classes. The second half of the first page, these are the actual classes that we have that are going to be started in 2023. So these are in planning stage or have an actual start date. So we're doing another wonderful collaboration with Pyrology. We're doing a phlebotomy class starting in January, paraeducator class online starting in March. And then we also have QuickBooks and Microsoft Office Specialist, EMT, as well as security guard projected for the rest of our program year. If you're looking at the second page, this is what we've accomplished so far through the year. So we've done, quite a bit of accounting and bookkeeping, Microsoft Office, lots of EMT, CNA, paraeducator is a very good one that has become very popular. It's 100% online, and we definitely want our school districts to know about this. So these are some of the events that we've managed to work and collaborate, not only with Pyrology and Gene and EDC, but in conjunction, we also work with Workforce Solutions here in Bastrop. They provide a space for us to do the orientations and the adult basic ed component. So what we're doing is we're taking adult ed, soft skill training, pushing it at the front of vocational training, and then offering the vocational training component. So people, it's kind of a win-win. We, talk a lot about soft skills as well as actually leaving with a certificate. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Yay!
Thank you, Monty. Sure. So that's their graduating class.
So, Jean,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
classroom at Pyrology is what BEDC negotiated in the contract,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
It sure is. It's 500 square feet.
And it's available for us all the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I
Yes,
just wanted
ma'am.
to make sure that we...
And I was going to elaborate on that a little bit as we got through, but yes, absolutely. It's part of the contract and part of the negotiations that we did have with Pyrology through Product Gummy Bears. Excuse me. And they are actually, everybody's nervous making new relationships and how that works after hours and all of that, but it went super smooth. Pyrology is very excited. It's actually opened some additional conversation with them on some other opportunities. And so I think for everybody, it's, getting in and kind of feeling it out and figuring it out. And I think they knocked it out of the park collectively as a partnership on that first go around, and it's really opened the door for us to start looking at some additional, not only classes with community actions, but also with some other classroom space opportunities as well. So we're very excited about that.
Well, the only thing, thank you, and that's great, and I'm sure the board's thrilled to see what we put in the contract actually happening. But she had made the comment of needing space for other things, and I was just making sure that that space is available
Yes,
all
ma'am.
the time. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up on the conversation is going to be Bastrop ISD, and as you guys know, we work with them every year on the Youth Career Day. This is kind of a little bit of a recap of that for those that are new, and we continue to work with them on a lot of additional initiatives, and so I'm going to introduce Amanda Brantley with Bastrop ISD and have her come and speak about some of the initiatives that we've worked on. Yes, ma'am. Do you want me to control or do you want to?
I can.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Amanda Brantley. I'm the Director of College, Career, and Military Readiness for Bastrop ISD. And I'm really excited to be here tonight to talk to y'all about a number of our programs in which the EDC is instrumental in helping happen. So what you see on the screen is our Youth Career Day from last year. It was a huge success. We have worked with the EDC for several years, as well as Workforce Solutions and the Chamber on this event. And last year we were able to expand it to where we had second graders come through for career awareness. Here are the things that are out there that you can learn about, that you could be when you grow up, kind of our bright and shiny, we call it. Then we had our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders come through for a little bit more exploration, so a little more in depth of what they've learned in their classes. And then our high schoolers finally came through and they worked with Indeed on building resumes. They did some mock interview skills. They did the really in-depth, you see TCS on the top left there, doing some actual virtual welding with those students. And without Jean and Angela and Becky and those partnerships, there's no way we would be able to pull in the folks that we need to make this event come to life. So really happy to have them in that space. We're expanding this again this year. We're going to host a hiring day in late May. We did a pilot last year where Tesla was the only employer that came in, but we had our students prep for the interviews, and then they went through the interviews with recruiters. Of the 43 students we had, 40 of those students were offered a position with Tesla that also entailed going to ACC for 7 weeks paid as they earned their education to get on the factory floor. So we're looking forward to working with the EDC staff on that as well to bring in more of our local employers for that hiring event for our graduating seniors. Some other things up here. These are a couple more of our events, but I kind of want to talk about things that aren't up here. So we do have 2 P-Tech academies, which we've started this year, and the EDC was instrumental in getting those grant funds from the Texas Education Agency to make those roll. One is in advanced manufacturing, one is in health science. So really helping us to look at what is the local need and what is the workforce feeder that our students are going to be able to thrive in. In addition to that, we've got a mentorship program and an internship program. Very excited and proud of those things and the help that the EDC has brought us in those. Our students are able to go through a 6-week program for mentorship. They do an hour a week for 6 weeks with someone in their career interest field. I think you've been a mentor for us. Yeah. And the kids really gain a lot from that, so we're really excited about that program. We've also done 2 years of paid internships for our students. So we start them out at $15 an hour or $16 an hour. We've raised that over the past couple years. And they're in a placement within a workforce area. They're not just sweeping floors, filing papers. They're really shadowing and learning experiences within the workforce area that they want to eventually go into. And that's for 80 hours a summer for our rising juniors and seniors. The most exciting event that's not up here, we just had last week at Genesis. So Genesis is our at-risk campus. Those are students that, for whatever reason, are at risk of graduation on their cohort. It may be life events, it may be that they're behind in credits. A number of different reasons bring students to those campus. But what we want to do is make sure that they are able to move forward and have a place and an idea of where they're going next, because they're only with us for a certain amount of time, and then we want them to be productive citizens of our community. Within minutes of pitching this idea to Jean, she had people lined up ready to go. So we're so thankful for those partnerships that she has. While we were in that event, I realized that I neglected our English language learner students. So we had a group of students that went through the event. They got a little bit from it, but not really what we were hoping for. They didn't really understand what was going on. I was talking to Jean that afternoon, mentioned this. Within 3 hours, she had a whole slate of folks ready to come in and do a Spanish-speaking panel for those students. So it was really exciting to see that. The past 2 years, we've also been able to present this work to the broad state through our Career and Technical Association of Texas conference. We've been able to partner on those presentations to show groups what they can do with their partners back at home. So here's the stuff that we're doing, and here's how it can be replicated for students across the state. We've also are really excited with partnership with the EDC. We have applied for some additional grants in auto tech, construction, and health science. And you guys vetting the workforce need in the area has helped us secure those funds. And we're excited that in the next couple of months, we'll be able to fully announce what those awards are and where they're coming from, but really excited for that coming down the pipeline. Thank you all, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Amanda. You
Really,
did a great
thank you
job.
very much.
So I did have the mentorship and the internships up there for her to, that's okay, for her to evaluate. But that, the mentorship program we did, actually, the EDC put together and worked, collaborated with Dr. Hen on that to put an article out through our website and on our social media about their mentorship program, because it is so extremely valuable to these students to have that one-on-one communication with professionals to understand that there are options and opportunities. I know we talk about it a lot, but a lot of our students, they don't know what they don't know. And so putting our community in front of them to talk about how they got to where they are gives them a lot of ideas and thoughts about what they can do right here in our own community. So thank you for always being a part of that. So ACC, as you guys know, we've been talking about this for a very long time, and we were super excited. It is going to, fingers crossed, if everything continues to move forward in the direction that it's supposed to, we'll actually launch next week. We will be offering the arc welding class, and it is a certification program. So once they complete this class, they will be actively have a certificate in their hand and ready to go to work. And as you can see, the cost is only $451 per student. They can either pay for that themselves, or if they need some assistance, they can qualify through the Workforce Solutions team for some either complete offset scholarship funding or a partial, depending on what their availability and qualifications are. So we're very excited about that. We've been working on that ACC programming for about 5 years now, so we're very excited. And then, of course, you guys know the Art Institute, but one thing that you may not know is they are also collaborating with Bastrop ISD to hopefully implement a dual credit programming with them. They too have been, working on how to sort that out and where it's going to fit within BISD. And they are getting a lot closer. So we're very excited for them and for Bastrop ISD and their students to have that option right here in their own community, that they can go straight from college and already have some of those credits to go into what classes they want to for the future. So that, I believe, will wrap us up for that. So thank you very much for allowing us the time. And
So,
yes, sir.
I do have a question. Is the EDC directly giving money to some of these things, or are you just helping facilitate finding the grants?
So we do fund some of the opportunities. Like with the Youth Career Day, we do offset some cost, and that is done through our education budget item, as well as we do also help support community action with offsetting some of their rental fees and things of that sort. And we are always looking for other ways to help support that ongoing education for our community, most importantly for our companies.
Great, thank you. It's just,
I mean,
it's-
I believe the Rural Workforce Solutions numbers came out today, and I believe this area, this region, we're at 2.9% unemployment, and finding staff is critical. And so we're helping to educate as quickly as we can.
Well, every one of these projects, I am very impressed with it, and thank everybody here that is part of that and make that happen for not only our students, but also for the community, because we need things like this. And I'm just very thankful that you guys are involved and participating, and we give the folks opportunities for this. This is fantastic.
Yes, sir, and I do want to point out one other thing that Amanda did bring up, but I do want to kind of preface it a little bit, is the P-TECH grant that they went out for 2 years ago. We actually, the EDC ourselves wrote a letter of support, but we also brought industry to the table too, like industry that would be impacted by that grant, brought them to the table to write support letters as well. And you know, really understanding what the trades have to offer, that's what the school district focused on. And out of that became the manufacturing programming as well, the advanced manufacturing programming. And so it all kind of correlates together. And again, we have just now done the same thing, put a letter together of support from a staff and industry perspective, and what we know from talking with industry onto a letter of support to help them get some additional grant funding for some more career readiness opportunities. So that dynamic is extremely important, because what we know from industry directly that they don't have, right? And it's also working very hard to get industry in the doors of our classrooms, because that is where it's critical.
Great, thank you very much.
Yes.
Really nice. All right, we're going to go ahead and then kind of go back to the 3.3, if you don't mind. And that's going to be the presentation and possible action on a donation of funds to the BEDC from the Roscoe State Bank from their merger with the Cornerstone Home Lending. So,
thank you, Board Chair, Board. I'm just going to take a sidebar here for a second and say I've got to be probably the luckiest director that's walked in front of you guys in a very long time, because having staff that can do these things and help out, and the community partners that are more than willing to join us and make things move forward is just such a blessing for me, to be quite honest. And this is another one. We were approached by Roscoe State Bank, one of our local banks, who's been in our community for a very long time. They had an acquisition with Cornerstone, as you guys can read, and part of that was they ended up with some resources that they wanted to invest back in our community. So they asked us if we would mind taking $100,000 over the next 5 years, and after I started crying from the arm twisting I took, we said gladly, of course. But what would you like to see us invest in? Because we want to make sure that your investment in us is going right back out into the community. And what we've discussed with them, which I'm working on right now to present to you probably next month, would be a revolving loan fund that we want to create out of this program, so we can help small businesses to get into business and help offset some of the financial cost of that. The bank thinks this is a great idea, and so at this point in time, I would like to have them come up and say a few words, and of course, we have a really nice big check that we would like everyone to come down in front of the dais here and take a picture with us, so we can really commemorate this event. Mr. Womble?
I did say in the memo there would be a photo op. Did anybody catch that? Y'all are looking like, what?
Thank you. Well, good evening. Thank you for taking time for us this evening. We wanted to just take a minute and tell you that we're excited about what this organization is doing in the Bastrop community, as we are about so many things that are going on in Bastrop. We live in a wonderful place with a very giving community, and it's very active. There's lots of things going on, as evidenced by some of the earlier conversations. And this organization is one of many that is helping to make sure that the Bastrop community is thriving, has a strong economy, and is working hard to be proactive in that regard. So On behalf of Roscoe State Bank, which is now a division of Cornerstone Capital Bank, I'm happy to offer this 5-year commitment totaling $100,000 to the Bastrop EDC for the purpose of establishing the fund that Brett has described here. We're very excited to be and honored to be able to be a part of what is happening in this community. We're just a small part, but we want to do our part. And we think that, that this type of donation is something that we can do just simply as a gesture that says, we believe in Bastrop, we believe in the future of Bastrop, and we want to be a part of the long-term solutions of making this a greater community than what it already is. So I really have nothing else to add to that other than the fact that if you are kind enough, we would like to take a photograph and commemorate this investment on behalf of our community, and we're excited to just have the opportunity to do something small that says thank you and support and encourage the good work that's already going on. So
Great, thank you very much.
you bet. Did I miss something?
Let's,
Yeah.
I'm going to get the presenter and the recipient right here. Okay. I'm going to fill in everybody behind. So Johnny, come right here. Tell me where. Okay. And the recipient and presenter right here.
Well,
Yeah, but you gotta go get in the picture.
Bring this right up here.
we'll take it on the other
Yeah, I'm going to fill in everybody behind you. Stand behind here.
Everybody, yeah, we want everybody in.
Let me get you to just sort of swivel this way a couple degrees and then let me get up on a chair. Ma'am, can I bring you over here? I can get a couple of you right there. I need a head between the shoulders there. Okay. Let me see a head, flat, a head between shoulders. There you go. That way everybody can see that. And I'll give you a 1, 2. And a good smile. And hold that. 1, 2. Oops. And let's do one more. And 1, 2. Hold that. Wait, I'm trying to do this third one. Good one. And let's do, I'm going to switch. Hang on just a second.
Your cheek should hurt by now.
And a 1, 2, a good one. Okay, and one of those 12 will work. Thank you.
Hang on, Ashley.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Now, is that all 100,000 or is it 20? So you're gonna have to come back for 4 more years.
We'll just have to hang around, won't we?
I appreciate it.
at least once a year for 4 years, we'll have good press with a $20,000 check.
Chair, it is listed as possible action. Do we need to officially accept it, or is that not necessary?
I believe just to be formal about it, we should go ahead and
I'd
officially
like to
accept
make
it.
a motion to accept the $100,000 over a 5-year period from Cornerstone and Roscoe.
I second.
Lots of seconds.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Didn't think so.
Thanks again. Have a great evening. Y'all be safe out there.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. Now we're going to move on to 3.5, and that is discussion and possible action on the funding of a 20% match on the grant for the Downtown Trail Project.
Yes, sir. This, as everybody knows, predates me a little bit, and I'd rather bring up our end to discuss, to discuss it a little bit. And of course, we have Ms. Waldron here on behalf of the city and the finance department who can talk about it a little bit. But as I understand it, back in 2017, when this project was started, the EDC board did pass an ordinance approving up to $680,000 to go toward this project. Subsequent to that, the city, as they started working on it, was able to go out and get some grant funds to offset some of the costs for this program. The best of my knowledge and what we could find is that there was no actual interlocal agreement between the city and the EDC on how this was going to work in writing, but apparently there was certainly an agreement in place that we were going to offset some of these funds. So I believe there probably should be a little bit of discussion on that because we're coming up on the full and final payment of $88,000 and change. And on one hand, I can tell you as the director, I'm looking at it and saying, well, we'd only be in around $300,000 and we approved $680, so we're actually saving money out of this project. But on the other hand, I also like to say we need to have our I's crossed and T's dotted, and we don't necessarily have the paperwork here to do that. So I think out of some discussion out of this, there might be some comfort zone that we want to see reached.
Yes, I guess the very first thing I'd like to understand, I think I know the answer to the question, but where's the request coming from? Is it coming from the city? Tracy, is it coming from your organization? Okay. And are you requesting that we come up with this $88,000? Is that like a formal request for that? Or how are you narrating, if you will, the request? And the only reason I ask that is because I don't see any paperwork that says that there's a match. I know there's an invoice. I understand the invoice,
Yes,
but
so this
there's
is
no
a-
paperwork that says where the 20% match comes from because it was an agreement between you and the TxDOT.
So this project was always an EDC project. It started out as an EDC project. Back in 2017, we didn't do formal resolutions like we do now and will be going forward. So there is no record. But when we got the grant has to be in the city's name, which means that the construction and other costs have to be in the city's name. So all we're doing right now is just trying to recoup the match from the grant.
Yeah, I mean, I have the resolution here, and we did have the resolution R 2017-0009 that we were going to fund a total of $680,000 over 3 years. I understand that. I don't have any really heartburn with it. I'm just trying to understand the documentation
Yeah,
to
and the city did
back up the request.
provide everything we sent to TxDOT for reimbursement, so they have what we sent the state.
Okay. Okay, very good. Does anybody have any questions here on the board on this request?
I do. So as I look at the budget, I don't see that the line item that we have for this project has any dollars allocated to it, so,
There's still monies in the city project line item.
okay. Yeah, so as I look at the BEDC budget, we've got a zero balance for 2023.
It's not a 2023 bill, it's a 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The way I understand it is when the board said we'll spend $686,000 on this, that got put in a bucket, and out of that bucket, only $200,000 has come out.
Okay.
So that's why it doesn't show up now, because
Yeah.
it's a separate, am I understanding?
Yeah,
It's
it was
taken me a
years ago.
long, there's lots of
Yeah,
buckets.
because I see a 13K amount set aside for last year and the year before, or I'm sorry.
There
so-
should be more in the city project line item. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little more clarification, we've spent the $219,000 over several years, but we've also spent an additional $56,000 for additional things that come out of this. So the total is more closer to like $270-ish thousand. Okay, just FYI. But again, I don't personally have any, issue with it. I just want to see if there's any questions around it or
I think that both here at BEDC and City Council understood that taking the Campo grant had additional things. They required additional testing. So it's kind of like if you take the $475,000, you may have to spend a little money to get that. But to your point, it was still all total, all tax title license rollout. You're well under what was originally budgeted by the BEDC board for this project. And
as Tracy has confirmed, this is full and final on this. So it does put us in a positive position of about $300,000 after we assumably agreed to pay this amount.
So does the resolution cover us paper-wise?
We will certainly paper it to do that, yes.
Okay. And I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to approve the reimbursement to the City of Bastrop for the Downtown River Loop Trail Project for the amount of $88,363.30.
I'll go ahead and second that. Any discussion? No? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Can we have a round of applause for that project being done? I mean, holy cow, that has...
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Oh, man.
We've gone through a few iterations of it, that's true. Okay. We're going to, I guess we're going to go to 3.6, although we're going to have that discussion again in executive session. But tell you what, let's move on to 3.7, okay? Let's do that first. So update, discussion, and possible action regarding the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park infrastructure projects, replatting the undeveloped portions of the business park, providing the City of Bastrop with a preliminary plat, submitting a warrant to change the cross-section identified in the zone scheme of Jackson Street to 38 feet of pavement and the unnamed street to 36 feet of pavement, and removing the requirements for sidewalks.
Yes, sir, thank you. This came out of some very productive meetings with the city, both in Sylvia, our new city manager, Trey, our assistant city manager, and planning staff to talk about on phase 2 of the business park, how we're going to move it forward most effectively. Most effectively to move it forward is to reduce the footprint that we are going to be building on, because basically 1/3 of the property on the east side is very challenged because of the topography. It goes anywhere from about 270 up to 410 feet. So if in the future we wanted to build out in that area, the expense to go through of leveling some of those hills and filling some of those valleys is really going to be very cost prohibitive for us. And certainly cost prohibitive for any developer that we would find who would come on board who'd want to move into that area. So part of this is reducing it down and looking at what the street scenario truly is for us, and that is to extend the roads down and basically shape it to tie into each other between technology and Jasper? The other, Jackson, thank you. Jasper moment. So part of that was working with the city on the actual widths of what we needed to do, and when we crossed the easement. Part of this also has to do with the MOCA project and the engineering that's going on for that, and it just seemed to make sense for us to bring it all together into one conversation. And as I said, it was very productive and a very good one. But I will bring Dave up to talk to you about a little bit further on his end from the engineering side, what we're going to do and what we'll be working with the city on.
Thank you. So as mentioned, we did have a very productive meeting with the city. Glad to have your new city manager. She's a genius. She paid me to say that, by the way. No, it really was a great idea to kind of clean up the whole properties first and then start over. So we're going to be replatting, as you saw up there, and we'll have 3 lots after there, and then we can reconfigure the roads. We submitted our 60% plans, and it brought up a lot of questions and stuff like that. So by meeting with the staff, we were also able to identify exactly what roads we're going to build. We are minimizing the right-of-way takings, or not taking, but the right-of-way itself. We had 120 feet, which was what we put into the zoning scheme, and we're going to narrow that down to 80. We're also going to take the sidewalks out. They're not necessarily
wanted or needed in the industrial park. And both those reasons will help minimize any tree destruction that we're doing out there, because it's loaded with trees, as you all know. The other thing about not building on the east side, you know, we already have a 75-foot buffer, tree buffer with the neighborhood, so we're only extending that probably another 100 to 150 feet, I think, is what the distance is. We'll double check that, but that's what's going on right now. We're revamping it a little bit. Well, next month I'll come back with some more different layouts for y'all to see, and you can kind of see some of the dividing lines where we're developing and where we're not developing. Again, I think it's going to be quicker, easier, and I think it'll just move it all faster for us. I really do.
When you give us an update next time, I'm going to assume that you're also going to give us an update on the estimated cost that will be
construction
reduced
cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one thing we are taking out. We're not extending the road all the way to the east. And also the little small section of road that went down to the south. Most of those have been taken out, so we don't have the impact with the neighborhood versus our industrial park.
And that was something, if I may, that the city and I worked on together in one of our meetings, because I just didn't feel it was appropriate for us to run roads through our business park without defined future uses of what that park might be, and then run them into a neighborhood. To me, it just brings up a lot of potential safety issues. So by taking a look at the topography and realizing that it's going to be much too challenging to build on the east side, that was immediately going to remove one of those roadways anyway. So if we're removing that, then it also doesn't make sense for us to try to put something through the south side into the neighborhood down over there, because any vehicles that came through the business park, assume an 18-wheeler, for example, it would still have to go east or west throughout Tahitian down that direction anyway to try to find an access point to head back north. So this just seemed to be a better, safer alternative for us to consider, and certainly it's going to reduce the cost down from, I was told an initial projection of about $13 million to build everything out. But as we're going to reduce the size and work with the footprint that is most beneficial for us, we'll be able to drop that cost down on phase 2 quite a bit.
What does this do to the schedule? So what does this do to the schedule? And more importantly, I'm happy to have the update, but what are you wanting from the board tonight?
This is really just an update to you all about what's happening. The schedule still has to be worked out. The first part of the schedule of this is really to get the Mocha Road in, and that was part of this initial conversation, because we do have to cross the utility easements. And since we're coming down Jackson to cross that utility easement, the secondary conversation was then how are we going to continue moving Jackson further to the south? And it did not make sense to come from the current width of Jackson at 36 and bring it across the easement and go to 38, when what is there and working now works now. And then, of course, the aspect of all the trees that are out there, and we want to be as consistent as we can be with trying to protect the nature area in that section. So that gives us the ability to reduce the footprint of the road, reduce the right-of-way, keep more trees in place so we don't have to turn around and do more planting in the future, which will offset that expense. The property on the east side also has the Houston toad habitat barrier to it, and with the 75-foot setback around the entire development when we do anything anyway, our footprint was being reduced, so we might as well reduce it down correctly to what we can legitimately get out and market and sell and probably move pretty quickly. But going back, initial point, this gets us Mocha moving forward, the road for Mocha, and then it'll give us the ability to move forward and create the road connectivity that we need to get created.
Thank you. The schedule question obviously is about, because the board's had discussions about shovel-ready sites, so I appreciate that. But more importantly, the schedule that's before us is Mocha. So do you think that the Mocha portion is on schedule?
We will be on schedule with the Mocha portion. I'm not sure that Mocha is on schedule with the Mocha portion. From our perspective through the EDC, we have sold them the property, and we've had the conversation. I've had it directly with their president about, you now need to get your plan submitted to the city. I know the city manager has a very aggressive timetable to work with them to get them up in their building in the next 12 months, but it really all depends on them doing their job, them being MOCA, to submit. Since we're kind of out of the loop on the submittal, I don't know if they've submitted anything yet. As of last week, I don't believe they had. So we do have an agreement with them that has a performance clause, I believe, that kicks in February. And I'm sure that either next month or in January, I will be revisiting with y'all to extend that. Our goal is, of course, not to penalize MOCA, but they have not acted in the time frame within which they had originally told us they would, and now, of course, they're being a little bit more aggressive to get something built, which isn't part of our agreement. So we just need to rework some terms.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So I actually have a question on the refactoring. Several of the plans had detention ponds that were quite large. Will we be re-looking at detention ponds as part of the plan?
Yes, sir, absolutely. If we're not going to be developing on the portions of the east side, it's going to really decrease the amount of stormwater runoff we were anticipating having, so yes. We're revisiting all that right now. Well, what it didn't say in your notes is we're going to be coming back with a preliminary plat, and that requires pretty much a full study of the drainage out there. So in lieu of the replat, we'll follow it up with a preliminary plat and identify all the infrastructure needed. And it will be reduced.
Yeah, I know there was a resolution in front of council of last month similar to this. Does this have an impact to any of the replanting that was happening for the smaller lots?
Well, the nice thing about replatting this is that we're not going to specify what the lots are.
Okay.
The lot size will be determined by the end user who's going to come in and work with us and purchase it from us. And then we'll be able to put that into a replatted process, and they get a final plat when they build.
Yeah, so I know for phase one, we were looking at replatting and resizing a number of the existing properties. And I believe there's a resolution in front of the council last month moving that forward. So is there an impact
Well, what
to
was
that?
before council was what BEDC sent to
Yeah,
council,
yeah,
so
right.
yes. City Manager Carrillo.
Hello, hello, hello. It was after that meeting I was really, really concerned about what was going on, and I felt like we didn't have a clear picture, all of us, not just EDC, but city as well. So my suggestion to Brett was really vacate and start over, erase. There's some issue with the property owners, everybody needed to re-sign, so the suggestion is let's replat into two very large sort of vacant lots, save you some money, let the new developer who comes in, who asks you for parcels, spend the money on offsite improvements for any road or water extension, but you guys be on the hook for just the spine. Save yourself some engineering dollars. Sorry, Dave. Save yourself some engineering dollars and really get a clear picture of what's in front of you before you go through this change order process with him. Not that he doesn't want to make the money, not that you don't want to spend the money, but we want to be a good partner and good taxpayer stewards so that you have a better idea of where you're trying to head.
Yeah, that's correct. We were looking at a lot of replats and replats that we talked about, and that means possibly realignments of the road. So this way we won't have to do that. We'll do a preliminary plat, but we don't have to go out there and literally survey in our road until somebody comes in and final plats it. So it saves, she's
Because
right.
you can final plat it in pieces.
Yes, ma'am.
You do one preliminary plat, and then you can final plat it in pieces, so you're not drawing lines that you have to erase.
That still satisfies our desire to have shovel-ready sites and whatnot. We just take bigger ones, cut them to whatever the customer may want, and that way we can continue on and still be in compliance, if you will.
In fact, if I may, the MOCA Road project is going to give us at least one shovel-ready site, because as that road heads east, we will still have a southern portion that will be opened up for access point to it. We don't have to wait until Jackson Street is extended any further to the south. So that, I'll call it a corner piece, so to speak, will end up having, or has the potential of having two different access points to it.
And just for clarity, because the topography hasn't changed, you know, right? The final plat was done in 1997, the very first one, and the topography and the toad habitat was known from when the board in whatever, I've assumed they bought it before 97 if they final platted it in 97. And if you go back to that first plat, that was called like conservation, like everybody knew that was going to be an issue. And in fact, MOCA's in that conservation space. So that further supports the idea of, again, the topography hasn't changed. It's extremely expensive to build in. It's got a lot of contingencies in it. And this is just addressing that so that it's not so it's cleaned up.
Yes.
Is that an accurate summary?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. I would like to go ahead and go into executive session and have those discussions and then come back and talk about 3.6. So the BEDC Board of Directors will meet in a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to discuss the following. Number one, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, basically the Project Triple Arrow. Number two, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Thank you. Now is 6:23, or 6:33, excuse me. We will now, BEDC Board of Directors will reconvene into open session to discuss, consider, and take any action necessary related to the executive session noted herein. I don't believe there is any action or items that we need to bring up here. Therefore,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody.